with the board and community an update on our MUSD Innovation Campus Vision. You'll see later in the agenda, we have more about the construction and the actual architecture. I'd like to first start off with asking you to think about how our pathways are preparing our students for the fourth industrial revolution. And you may wonder, what is the fourth industrial revolution? And so I have here a chart to refresh our memories, and also for those of us who haven't heard of it, to share with you that in the early 1800s, we had steam power, and then we had electricity and the factory model of working. And that is somewhat what our schools across the country were based on, is the idea that we have students who move in cohorts based on age level through the grades until they graduate and then are ready to join the workforce. Then we had, in the later part of the 20th century, information communication and technology, which greatly enhanced our ability to communicate and connect with each other, and really moved into the age of computer and electronics and the information age. We're currently in Industry 4.0, which is really about the Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data, information, and ways that we can connect and work, drive, and live. So if you think about it, this past year, in the last 15 months, we've really accelerated because we're now all used to using Zoom as a way to communicate and to connect with each other. We have our teachers in our students' homes and our families in our teachers' classrooms. We also have the ability to order almost anything we want online, including groceries, takeout, delivery, and also to shop for other necessities. And we might notice when we're doing that shopping that there is a pop-up asking us if we're interested in another product that's related to something that we've seen or visited recently because of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So as we think about our students and what they're going to be entering as they look to the workforce, we really need to make sure that we are preparing them not to just be consumers and not to be at the mercy of what happens with industry, but that they get to be on the forefront in creating and designing what's happening. And just to share a little bit of data with you, in this past year in Silicon Valley, we had about almost 12% unemployment. And as you look over the past year, you'll notice that the service industry lost about 49% of its jobs, while the tech industry actually increased its job opportunities by 2%. And locally, the latest unemployment number for Milpitas is 5.5%. Another interesting thing is that if we look at STEAM, science, technology, arts, engineering, and mathematics, and we just take gender, for example, we notice that while women on average, about 38% of them have degrees in STEM, only about 7% of them actually enter tech fields. And we have in our backyard of Milpitas, we have a huge industry of advanced manufacturing, which encompasses many different types of jobs, including cybersecurity, healthcare, and chip design. And if you look at women again, and you look at Black and Latinx women, you see that it's less than 2% have tech jobs. Another interesting point is that a lot of women have dropped out of the workforce this past year for a great deal to do with the necessity because students are at home learning. And that again points to the gender differences. So we know that there are two great areas of need for our future workers. One is tech, and the other is healthcare. And as you look at the data to the right, which is based from the World Economic Forum, as well as the McKinsey Institute, and this was granted just a couple years before COVID, you see that by 2030, which is just in a few short years, the world will see a displacement of anywhere from 75 to 375 million workers because jobs are changing. Because going back to the fourth industrial revolution, many jobs that we see are actually jobs that machines can do, or that a robot or artificial intelligence can take care of. As a matter of fact, there are many news articles that are written by machines. On the financial market on Wall Street, they lost over 100,000 jobs to machines. But there is one thing that will continue, and that is something that human beings do, which is be, create, think, communicate, take information, synergize it, and create something fantastic with it. So as we look at the future of education, it's imperative that we keep this in mind so that our students, as they graduate from our schools, are there to pick up those jobs that we don't quite know yet and to be on the forefront. So how will MUSD Innovation Campus transform our learning pathways in Milpitas? I'd like to take us back a couple years to 2019. We had a committee of just over 20 people. It included board members, some students, parents, and teachers, counselors, classified staff, and administrators. And together over the course of the year, actually a year and a half, we developed these 4 outcomes that we wanted for our learners. Being adaptive and connected to the world, being compassionate and inclusive, joyful, creative, and curious, and inspired, passionate, and purposeful. Again, think back to the last 15 months. So much has happened because we've been paused and living through screens. Life has slowed down a great deal. We've been able to spend more time with family. We've also been able to observe what's happening around us and to connect with people outside our homes and outside our countries. In fact, we even have students who are learning outside of the country because of the connection. And I think as we look at these 4 areas that committee created as outcomes for our learners, we can see that they are highly relevant. Here's our modern day campus, the MUSD Innovation Campus. See that as 6 L-shaped buildings, which later on in our agenda, we'll learn more about those. And then we have the theater and the 900 building. We'll learn more about those as well. These buildings, and in particular the 6 buildings that I'm talking about right now, will allow us to have integrated design projects, hands-on learning, opportunities for internships, apprenticeships, applied learning, and a great deal of collaboration within our city with institutes of higher education, corporations, and small business. And these buildings are designed with the premise in mind that no time in them goes wasted, that these buildings are alive with learners from 7 in the morning to 9 at night. We are going to have a new model of learning in Milpitas Unified for our high school through adult learners. And as you look to the disruption that's happening in education, you're starting to notice that not so many students are looking to the traditional 4-year college anymore, because students can actually find out, learn, create on their own. And there's something called badging and certificates and micro credentials that identify a person's skill set, and using something called blockchain. It's and affords our learners from high school through adult to also capture experiences and essentially create a digital resume that they can share with future employers. And so as we think about learning, it's not just with the goal of going to college. It's that and so much more. It's about ensuring that learners have the ability to pursue their pathway to career, and that if they find that they need another skill and it requires formal learning, they know where to come, the MUSD Innovation Campus. Thinking of some of our adult learners in our Milpitas Adult Ed School, as well as potential corporate partners, there's opportunities for retooling in the evening. These are the professions, indices, trades, and technologies that we've been talking about with San Jose State, San Jose City College, some partners such as KLA, the City of Milpitas, and other businesses that we've discussed, as well as community-based organizations such as NovaWorks. And I've also talked about these technologies with our middle school students. And each time we ask for them to take a look at these industries, and is there something that's missing? And aside from one middle school student saying that she was really interested in doing fine art, it pretty much captures everything else in some way, because even virtual design construction is encompasses art and drawing. If we look at this data, which comes from our Economic Development Center here in Milpitas, you see that we have a highly skilled Milpitas community, and only 12% of them stay in Milpitas to work. Even though we have all of those advanced manufacturing companies, and we have biotech, and we have small businesses, they leave Milpitas to work. Our goal is that we have students who stay in Milpitas, and that number at least doubles. So how do we do exponential learning, and how do we do exponential change? We have to think differently about who our partners are. And there are some models around the country of partnerships that are more than just two forces. Typically, you might have a business and a unified school district or high school district, or a business and a community college, or a community college and a school district, but rarely do you have all of them together. There is one example of that in North Carolina, and it's called the Regional Triangle Park. So our Milpitas Alliance partners with us will help us to determine the pathways that we need to assure are there for our students, so that we are flexible and changing with the needs of career, with the needs of our students. We have one of our founding members, KLA, and one of the aspects that our Milpitas Alliance partners can do is they have something called naming rights. So Milpitas KLA has signed an MOU, which is on the consent agenda. And the MOU is that for 3 years, they get to name the STEAM lab at the Second High School campus, KLA, for $750,000. KLA has been a long partner of ours, and they continue to be so. And at the end of that 3 years, most likely we can count on a renewal. We also have an MOU with the City of Milpitas that's in the works to also be a founding member. And I believe that's going to the City Council next week. So we continue to build our partnerships with companies and other entities that can help us to realize the full vision of the MUSD campus, which, if we go back to this picture, which while we have our $68 million that we've set aside from the bond to ensure that the second high school campus is built, and it will also pay for much of the rest of the L-shaped buildings, it won't completely pay for all 6 L-shaped buildings. However, we do have a grant from the state, a bond grant, and we know for certain that we have the funds that we need to pay for all 6 buildings. The $750,000 from KLA will be used for the corner there, the corner suite, which will become our Early Childhood Education Development Research Center, which is currently the 900 building, and our Workforce Pathways Development Center, which is the theater. And we'll bring that back to the board at a future date. But those 2 buildings, we're going to need to find other ways to fund. I'll leave you with our timeline. And I just want to reflect who our MUSD Innovation Campus team has been. So when I say we, these are the people I'm referring to. Any questions?
Thank you, Superintendent.